everybody, Matt Maran here for another quick drive video. So this time I am in the brand new 2020 Ford Mustang EcoBoost High Performance Package. This one also has the handling package, so you have those 265 wide tires all around. But the big news here with this high performance package you can get on the EcoBoost here is that it basically runs the Focus RS engine, and it has a little less horsepower, 332 versus the 350 that the Focus RS has, but you do get 350 pound-feet of torque here, just like all the other EcoBoosts here from 2018 and up. And it's actually been several years since I drove an EcoBoost. I used to have an EcoBoost and I had modified it and stuff, and that's the last time I drove an EcoBoost is when I drove mine. And so, it has more torque now, from, again, 2018, and then now you have even more horsepower here thanks to this new package for 2020. And so first things that I noticed with it, you got a little bit more of a burble to it. Unfortunately, it sounds pretty similar to a Focus RS actually to me. A little more muscly, but you don't get any of the awesome crackles and pops that you get with the Focus RS. That's the only thing that I think would be very cool. I know this isn't a hot hatch, so maybe it doesn't fit, but I love the crackles and pops in my Bullet, and I think it would be a great addition here to the high performance package. So as far as the packages go here, so the EcoBoost High Performance Package is what gets you the additional power, and also some of the other stuff. I think you get better cooling and a few other things like that. And then the handling package adds the wider tires. I think that also gives you the better brakes, and so you have all those things. And then MagneRide is also another thing you can get as an extra option if you would like it, and so this one does have that option as well. And so we're going on to a back road here. I'll go ahead and put it into the sport mode, and they call it Sport Plus here in the Mustangs. That gives you much quicker throttle response. Steering is a little heavier, and it still is a big car here, but it's really punchy. Again, it's been a little while since I've driven an EcoBoost, but this is really so much stouter. I think what I'm feeling right off the bat are those larger wheels and tires, and that really just makes it feel more agile. It really feels like it wants to autocross desperately. Like, that's what this thing is built for. If you love autocross and you want a Mustang, this is all you. This is like 100% what you're going to want, because it's a great setup having the 265 wide tires here, and it's just so much grip. So even with the Bullet that I have, you have 275s in the back, but even that's only 255s in the front. So have even more grip up front here with this than you do with stuff like the Bullet or the Performance Pack Level 1 GTs, which have the same setup. So this is a really awesome aggressive setup. Still not as far as the Performance Pack Level 2 that you can get on the GTs, which run 305s, but nevertheless, this is great. And we got a nice tight corner here. Yeah, this thing really grips well. It's impressive. So yeah, it feels good, and everything feels more darty and just more alive. And again, having that lighter front end with the 4-cylinder really is a noticeable difference, because it's, I think, a couple 100 pounds lighter over a GT. So I've been playing with the options on this one a little bit. So I still have everything in the sport mode, but I also now put the exhaust into track, because this one does have the active exhaust. And it's a good amount of sound. It still is very much that EcoBoost sound. It's either something that you love or you hate. It's, especially with Mustangs, it's a lot more polarizing than it is with other vehicles. I personally think it's a good sound. Then again, I did run my EcoBoost with a Cobb exhaust back in the day, and it was loud, but it sounded pretty cool to me. Obviously, I now much prefer the sound of my Bullet, so I'm in the V8 camp as far as that goes. But I think as far as EcoBoost exhaust go, there are some that don't sound good. I think this one, Ford did a really good job with their active exhaust. And the nice thing is, it's the 4 modes just like it is on the GT. So you have Sport, which is a little quieter than track. Then you have Normal, which is, a nice and still pronounced sound, but not overkill. And then you have Quiet, and you can have that so that it's nice and quiet, either when you're starting up, or if you just don't want to hear the exhaust, you can have it nice and subdued. So I personally really love these setups, because you can have it exactly whatever your mood is, instead of having to commit to always having something loud or always having something quiet. One thing I am missing, though, that I don't see so far in the settings is the active Rev Match that you get. I believe that still is only for the GTs, and now that I have my Bullet that has that, I've kind of gotten used to that, and I really enjoy the auto Rev Match downshifts. It just does it so much smoother than most people can, and it's just something, to me, it adds more fun. It's one less thing to really think about, and you know, I do wish that this had that, but you don't. So you're still going to have to do your own rev matching if you want, but that's a fun chore for most enthusiasts. So nothing to complain about, just something that I noticed here that's different than the GTs. But let's do a little acceleration here and see how it does. All right, strong power. It's quick. Ah, there was a crackle. I got a crackle out of it. I wonder if there's a way to tune that to do a little bit more of that. But yeah, sounds good. Pulls pretty good. Again, I'm used to the V8 power levels now, so it didn't knock my socks off, but solid amount of power. It still is, you know, a fairly big, heavy vehicle, so this isn't going to feel as sprightly as a Focus RS. If you love this engine and this sound, and you want something really zippy, the Focus RS is going to be faster in a straight line. It's also going to handle better still as well. So this EcoBoost High Performance is really in a very small niche of people who want a Mustang, but don't want a V8, and also still want very good handling, much like an import, but they don't want a Focus RS for some reason, even though that's more practical and everything else. So it's an interesting demographic, but I know there are some people that are very interested in this, and I've heard from some of you that you wanted to see me do a video on this, so I'm glad to have been able to do this here, and I'm glad that Ford brought it out here to the WAPA rally for 2019 that I'm at currently. But coming up to a roundabout here, and so this will give us a nice tight turn to kind of assess how the body roll is in this vehicle. And I'll go down a second here, and yeah, it feels very neutral too. It just it's good. Yeah, man, I really want to autocross this car. It would be so much fun. So I only have about 20 minutes here with EcoBoost High Performance, so I'm not able to do a full review or give you more in-depth thoughts on it here, but overall, I think, you know, if you option one of these right, then I think it makes sense if this is what you're looking for. So, you know, because they can get expensive, and I'll list all the pricing because I can't remember the pricing for all the packages off the top of my head, so I'll list that there in the video description. But so, you know, if you do load one of these up though, then you are basically at the same kind of price point you would get with like a Performance Package GT, and at that point, like, you know, you're gonna have way more power with those, and you'll have heavier handling but still very good handling, and that's where I think the appeal kind of goes away a little bit. But this one seems to be pretty well optioned. So the MagneRide is something I don't think it's a must-have, but does nicely firm things up, and then that's, you know, just gives you more adjustability to the suspension. But this one having the cloth seats, so you have, you know, a more basic interior, but you still have the great large, you know, Sync 3 infotainment screen, which is good, and then having just, you know, the more basic non-digital gauges and stuff. I think this, you know, probably is going to be on the lower end of the pricing spectrum as far as EcoBoost Mustangs going. So that's, I think, where it makes sense. You know, you can get one of these in the mid 30,000s or somewhere in the 30s. You know, it's probably going to make a lot of sense, and at that price point, you're very competitive with the Focus RS as well. Back when those were available new, technically you can't even buy a new one anymore, but when they were around, they were 35 or so as well. And so, you know, it makes sense at that price point. Once you get up into the 40s, and some of these you can option them up and load them up and stuff, you know, you can get them almost as expensive as a Bullet. And at that point, I don't see the appeal. But at this kind of bare bones, if you're okay with, you know, a more simple interior and stuff, this is a lot of fun for the money still. But then again, all EcoBoosts are fantastic, and a lot of these things you can do in the aftermarket, although stuff like the active exhaust, you know, having the whole suspension set up and the MagneRide dialed in for this vehicle in particular, something you're not going to get with aftermarket mods and stuff like that. So I do like that they're offering kind of an autocross special from the factory, and I think it's hopefully going to be exactly what a lot of the EcoBoost community members want. And yeah, feels good to have that mid-range torque though, because honestly, these EcoBoosts, especially with the new gearing you get with the 2018 Mustang GTs, you don't have as much mid-range punch as you got on the you know, previous like the 2017s and earlier GTs with their shorter gearing. The taller gearing, like in my Bullet, means you don't have quite as much mid-range punch. Now it's probably still about equal to this because you have so much more power in those V8s, but this just, it really is punchy in those lower RPMs, and that's what I really appreciate about this. And so it it's great for around town, zipping in and out of traffic and things like that. The EcoBoost is very well set up for that. And you also, of course, the big deal with the EcoBoost is better fuel economy. Now, it's not a massive difference. You know, I can still eke out almost 30 mpg on the highway in my Bullet, but you do end up on average getting, you know, a couple mpg better. So if you are wanting to make sure you keep your costs down, and insurance costs and things like that should be lower here in the EcoBoost, then again, all of these things can add up to a lot of appeal depending on the person. But yeah, so anyway, let me know your thoughts on the EcoBoost High Performance here in the comments below. Huge thanks once again to Ford for bringing this vehicle out to the WAPA rally. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.